Hi, I'm Doug Leko from Antler Quilt Design. I'm here today at Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm going to show you how to do 120-degree corners on a Tablerunner. We now have our binding all pressed in half, and we are ready to attach it to our Tablerunner. I took my binding and I lined it up on the edge, and I am now ready to start sewing. We're going to leave about a 10-inch tail, and I'm going to use a pin at the start to hold it in place. Now we're ready to go to our sewing machine and start sewing down the side. I am now going to remove my pin now that my quilt runner is under the presser foot, and I'm ready to start sewing. We're going to sew down the edge of our runner till we get about an inch from the corner. And we're now coming about 2 inches from our corner. We are going to sew until we get about 3/8 of an inch away from our corner. And I just put a pin in place just to kind of tell me where to stop once I lift it up and look. We are going to stop right at that pin with our needle in the down position. We're going to pull out the pin, and we are going to pivot right off and to the corner. So the corner is down here. We're going to sew off on that edge. Now you want to make sure you have your quilt and everything laid really flat. We are now ready to do the fold for the corner. As you can tell, I pivot and sewed right off, and I came out right at the corner, which is what you want to do. Now we're going to fold my binding back, and what you're wanting to do, and the key to getting the corner to come out perfectly, is you're going to crease your binding right on the edge like that, and then when you fold your binding back, you want this edge to be straight. And once you know this is straight, you're going to use a pin. You're going to put it in right in that corner there, and you're going to fold the binding back onto itself, and it should line up perfectly there. Your corner is now going to look like this. You're going to hold it down. You don't want to let go because you don't want any of that fold to get let go. And I just put a pin in place so it holds it until I'm ready to sew. I'm now ready to go back to my sewing machine and sew across the side. So I now took one stitch down, and I'm going to remove the pin now that I know the corner is held down by the presser foot. I'm going to make sure my runner is nice and flat. And I'm going to align the edge of my binding to the edge of my quilt. And I'm just going to sew down the side until I get about 3/8 away from this corner. And you never want to pull your quilt through your machine. You want to let it just glide right through. And again, I'm going to stop and check my distance. I'm going to put a pin in there that's going to tell me which part to stop. And I'm going to stop, and I'm going to pivot. And remove the pin before you start sewing again. And I'm going to sew off right at that corner. Now we have our binding stitched to the front. We are now ready to stitch to the back, and we are going to discuss how to sew the corner. So I have my needle and thread all ready to go. I buried it in my binding, and I'm going to stitch to the corner. And again, you'll notice the binding comes right up to the stitches, and I just have to help get it right over the stitches. That way you will have a nice full binding. And when you stitch, you're just going to want to make sure that you make sure the backing and the batting lays flat underneath your binding. I'm just going to take the stitch in like we've talked before. And again, I don't like my stitches to be any bigger than 1/4 of an inch. And you're just going to go through the backing and just a little bit of the batting. You don't want to poke to the front. And again, I'm going to judge my distance from the corner and make sure I put about 3 stitches there. So I have about 3/4 of an inch left. I'm going to put 3 stitches there just to make sure I can secure it. And I'm going to take my last stitch and come up right on the seam line to the opposite side. I'm going to do a knot there so I know it's secure. Now we are going to check the front, and we are ready to turn and move to the other side and do the corner. So as you can tell, when you go to the next side, you're going to take the binding and you're just going to kind of let it fold over the way it wants. And you're wanting a 45-degree corner right there. You're going to want a 120-degree corner right there. Check it from the front to make sure that it comes out at a very nice angle. You're going to take your stitch right on that fold. And again, we're going to make a stitch in the corner that goes from the back to the front. So I'm coming up from the corner, and I'm going up right through the middle of the fold. And I'm going to go down in the corner. And again, I'm coming up right on the fold. I'm going to go down on the other side. And when I come through, I'm going to pop out right on the binding edge. Just like that. And then you're going to be able to keep sewing all your sides of your runner, just like you normally would. After I get about 1 inch into the next side, I always go back and double check the corner that it looks nice and flat. It looks good. That is how you bind a 120-degree corner.